Hi Gemini, welcome to your reading. If you're new to the channel, I do timeless readings, which means that whenever you find this video is when you're meant to hear the messages within it. And in case you subscribe, I upload my new videos for Gemini and Sagittarius on Wednesdays. Also, the deck that I'm using today is called the Ostara Tarot. That's O-S-T-A-R-A Tarot. And as always, if you guys are interested in getting a personal reading, the information is in the description below. Also, I do want to let you guys know that sometimes the cards like to flip over in the deck. Usually I'll only take cards that jump out. Usually if they jump out in groups that are too big, I'll go ahead and put them back and continue to shuffle. But my goal here is to get you guys roughly 8 or 9 cards, and then we can get started on your reading. So I'm just going to try to pull one more card for you guys, and then we can get started. All right. So Gemini, just to remind you guys, if you enjoyed the reading, the best way to let me know is by leaving a like or a comment. But your overall energy here is the Lovers, which is actually really great energy to have, especially for you guys, because the Lovers is actually the card of Gemini. So I think that a lot of you guys are really feeling in your element right now. I think that things that maybe haven't felt quite right or like they were going the correct way is really sort of straightening itself out. I feel like you've had a lot of issues recently where you just kind of let them do their thing and then they resolve themselves. Also, I feel like for a lot of you guys, you've had a hard time speaking and a hard time communicating. And now that I'm seeing this sort of airy energy in the form of the Lovers, because, you know, it represents Gemini, yourselves, and you guys are the sign of communication ruled by Mercury, I think that you guys are going to be able to do that a lot more effectively now. If you've had blockages in communication, they're going to really evaporate, and you're going to see a lot more of that smooth communication coming up now. Also, you have here the Six of Cups in reverse. So whenever I see the Six of Cups, I know that it has to do with your past and even nostalgia. So I'm thinking that for a lot of you guys, you're really trying to put an end to certain patterns from your childhood that aren't serving you anymore. And I see the Hierophant here, which the Hierophant speaks of traditions. And it's actually very interesting because I'm getting sort of like a sense of deja vu right now. And I think that for a lot of you guys, you might be experiencing something very similar. So it's almost like you've seen where this is going and you don't want to repeat things that have happened in the past. Because I feel that for a lot of you guys, you've been in this position. And if it hasn't been you necessarily in this position, I feel like it may have been like a parent in this position or someone else you know in this position, right? Just like this overall sense of history repeating itself. So the fact that you are the Six of Cups in reverse with the Hierophant here tells me that you guys are really trying to take a stance and do what's best for you regardless of what's happened in the past. I should also mention that you do have 4 major arcana in this reading, the Hierophant, the Emperor, the Hermit, and the Lovers. And those represent Taurus, Aries, Virgo, and Gemini. So it's also important to notice that Virgo and Gemini are both ruled by Mercury. So like I was saying, you guys are seeing a lot of that communication. Communication sort of improve. But like I was saying, certainly with this Five of Swords and this Four of Cups, I think that you were in a situation where you were just kind of fed up about the general petty energy that was going on. Because the Four of Cups here talks about dissatisfaction with the situation. It talks about having 4 cups, and even though you have 4 cups, you want 5, you want my apologies, you have 3 cups, but you want 4. And I think that that's kind of like the major idea of how communication has been going for you guys. I think that there's been a lot of sort of small miscommunications that turns into this 5 of Swords, right? So in your recent past, I think that the communication has been difficult, and that's led to the 5 of Swords, which is petty arguments. It's, you know, getting angry for the sake of getting angry. I feel like with this 5 of Swords, you've been in the energy where you say one little thing and it sets off the other person, and then they start attacking you, so then you have to retaliate, and it's just this big, huge issue, and there's just arguments, right? That's what the 5 of Swords is about. It's about a situation where things are taken too seriously, there's too much conflict, there's sort of this condescending energy, right? And I think that now you guys are sort of putting that to an end. Because it's in the reverse, you guys are seeing a new period where the energy isn't like this anymore. You're exiting that energy and coming into an energy where you can be a lot more equal when it comes to communication, a lot more fluid and smooth, instead of this constant friction and constant conflict. And I feel like that's what's had you in this 4 of Cups energy, like I had said before. So I'm looking at this Emperor and this 8 of Swords, and I think that this is you. The Emperor is sort of my stand-in for divine masculinity. So everything that has to do with sort of the external world, everything that has to do with like creating and moving, and everything that has to do with doing is sort of what the Emperor represents, right? And he also represents somebody who is in charge, right? That very much commander general energy. So I think that with this energy here, you guys are really taking charge of the situation. I feel like in the past, you've been in this 8 of Swords energy where you couldn't really do a whole lot about the situation, where you were stuck, where your hands were tied. And it's very interesting in this depiction of the 8 of Swords, you know, this bird can't do anything to escape that situation, right? In other depictions of the 8 of Swords, it's a person who is tied up and who has a blindfold on, and they're surrounded by all these swords. So in that depiction, you know, the woman could, in theory, use any of those swords to escape her bondage and take off her blindfold, but because she's blindfolded, she can't see the solutions that are right in front of her. However, right, so I attribute that sort of energy of like not being able to find the solution. However, with this depiction of the 8 of Swords, it feels like there's nothing that you can do about it, or at least there was nothing that you could do in the past. And with this Emperor, I feel like you guys are really taking charge regardless of whatever is going on in your external environment. So I think it's really good that you guys are taking back your power and really acting in a way that, you know, makes you be the boss. You're really taking charge in communication. And I'm even looking at this. The Emperor in reverse talks about becoming a little bit more extroverted, coming out of your cage, which also sort of goes back to this 8 of Cups energy, because you feel almost like you were caged in the past. And to me, the Hermit card talks about sort of this introspection, going within, sort of losing touch, being really not really communicating with anyone, right? And the fact that you're coming out of this tells me that you've really already done your introspection, and you've already done all the things inside yourself that you've needed to do, and now you're coming out of yourself and you're doing the things that are sort of external to you, right? And I do want to mention that whereas the Emperor to me feels very external, the Empress, which is the Emperor's divine counterpart, is very much internal, right? She has to do with everything that has to do with sort of emotional, mental, and spiritual things that go within, whereas the Emperor is things that go without. So I feel like you've already done that step, these 2 cards where you've gone within and you've really seen what the situation is all about, and now you're coming now you're coming out and doing the things that you need to do sort of on the outside. And you have this Knight of Wands here, which talks about that fire communication. Also, I do want to point out that the Emperor is Aries, which is another fire sign. And it's no surprise that I see the Knight of Wands here, because I feel like you guys are really going to take charge in a way that's fiery and passionate. So good on you, Gemini. But that was your reading first time around, Gemini. If you enjoyed, please leave a like or a comment, because it really helps out the channel. And I personally really love to know if these readings resonate with you guys. But like I said before, I upload my new videos for Gemini on Wednesdays. But in the meantime, you guys are more than welcome to watch any of my other timeless readings that I have up on the channel. And with that being said, I hope to see you guys next time for your next reading.